I thought I'd make a video on what's needed to get world peace. Had wasted a lot of days talking with this religious guy. If you haven't noticed, it really took me off track of what it is that I want to focus on. And it's pretty clear that both sides of war have to sort of have peace rules. And if both sides can't even agree on what the rules are in creating peace, then there's no chance for any form of world peace. This is the same thing that's going on with the abusive experience that I've had with my ex-husband is, both people to be able to create a table that, is peaceful, you have to have some ground rules. And that's what I'm struggling with is the same type of war I'm having with this religious guy is the same type of war I'm having with this abusive guy. And it's the same thing that's going on with every war that we've got going on in this planet. And it's the same war that we have within our communities, within all of our religions. The more we start discovering what truth is, the more we'll get at war with each other because we're never going to be in agreement of what is truthful. All we know is there's a hell of a lot of lies out there. And, when we start finding out everything is a lie, then nobody's going to get the whole bigger picture of what is actually true. We just know everything is a lie. And that's sort of, the ground rules to look at is that, okay, let's start off fresh and just decide everything is a lie. Everything that we believe is not true. So let's develop new belief systems. What is it we choose to believe that's true? Um, that at least opens up the door to conversation. Is as soon as you open the door to, okay, everything is a lie, that means that you have no rules to go by, and both sides have zero rules to go by. It's just everything is a lie. Where do we start off from here? And then you have to decide what it is that you want. Now, I happen to want to live. Is that a rule that everybody wants to live by? Do we want a planet where you get to live? Now let's play that rule out. If you get to live, don't you think everybody else on the planet wants to live? I happen to want to live in a peaceful world. Do you want to live in a peaceful world? Do you think that if you want a peaceful world, that everybody else is deserving of living in a peaceful world? I kind of want to live in a loving world. Do you want a loving world? Do you think everybody else should deserve the same kind of loving world as you? I kind of need food every day. Do you think I should have access to food? If you think I should have access to food, don't you think everybody else on the planet should have access to food? I need shelter. I need a place to live. Do you want a place to live? Don't you think everybody else on the planet needs to have a place to live? I need to breathe good, healthy air. Do you want to have good, healthy air? If that rule applies for you and it applies for me, don't you think that it applies for everybody else? That everybody else should be deserving of good, healthy air, good, healthy food? These are the things that you need to build on. And as soon as you start saying, yeah, okay, these are the rules. I want perfect health. If I get perfect health, don't you think everybody else is deserving of perfect health? Whatever rules that I want for myself and whatever rules you want for yourself, they should be basic. And then you go, okay, what does a planet look like? What does a planet actually look like to have clean air, good food, everybody gets shelter, everybody's living peacefully, everybody's experiencing a loving experience. Okay, so if that's the picture that we're all headed for, not saying that those are just some starting grounds, but I think those are some basic things that we all want. If that's a disagreement, I'd love to hear about it. Put it in some of the posts, tell me where you disagree with those very basic rules. Because once we start designing what kind of future it is we want, then you just reverse mechanics. What would it take to make that happen? And then you got to see the world's got to change. The world's got to change completely. It's got to be, like our corporate worlds. Do they need to make some changes? Our government world, do they need to be changed? How does our government need to change so that that happens? These are not hard things. But we don't have any systems. We have zero systems that are in place to provide exactly that. And we look at it as being such a big problem. But the only problem that's there is we're looking at only a few need to get it. And as long as we're always going to perceive the fact that only the rich are entitled and the poor are not, then you'll never see how it's possible to make any of that happen. So we may be having this big war with these Illuminati and the wealthy people, but I think we've got to be a little bit at one with the system crashing, because as soon as the system crashes, we get rid of a lot of wealthy people on the planet. And yeah, the people on the bottom are going to suffer the most. But if we form together as community to be able to survive through these rough times, we need to let it crash. So those people that are wealthy, that middle class, like there is only a few that own a majority of most of the money. They're not that many. So it's got to filter down to, a lot of these companies, a lot of corporations, a lot of ways that we're earning our living. Those ways need to crash and fail in order for those people to realize that they need to be a little bit more equal to people that are homeless, people in third world countries. They'll never see the connection. I'm watching a lot of some of these channels of these guys that are watching the stock market, and they're just, oh my God, the world is all screwed up, and they're, the government's messing around with the stock market. They have not made any connection to people that are homeless. They are only seeing a loss of their money and not seeing that that same game, that same system, they themselves have made other people homeless. They don't see that connection yet. They only see how the guy at the top is affecting them, but they're not seeing how they have affected those below them. So it's like we haven't made the connections of how everything is supporting, how the rich get richer and the poor keep getting poorer. But once we wake up to how all of this is happening, it's easy. It's not that hard to change the systems. We just have to get a little bit more educated on them. Our medical system right now is all designed for you to be sick. You need to be sick. You need to want a healthcare system. But there is a much better way of getting better health. But a lot of that has to change our corporate world, because our corporate world happens to be killing you. How you work is injuring your health. Most factory workers, working in mines, I mean, you just name any form of career. And if you're a laborer, you are getting injured by doing the work, and you're getting next to no pay, and the guy at the top is the one that's earning all of the money. He can live a sinful life, and his sins may injure his health, but he can afford the medical system that sustains his life, but not for very long, because the pills that he takes, everything that he takes will ultimately kill him in the end. He doesn't even see that yet. But his own habits are what's killing him, and he needs to change that as well if he wants to live a longer life. So it's like, you gotta at least, this is the biggest war that I see is is at what point are we dying? What age limit? And you got to kind of come to an agreement of what age do you want to actually die, and what do you want to die of. And as long as we're accepting death, there's one way that we are accepting a sinful life, in one way, shape, or form. The only thing that kills us is our sins and the way we live our lives and the way we treat each other. And we don't really have a comprehension of how, an overpopulation problem is. But, when you see a different world, you see a world that isn't full of sin, then, you'll start to see that the planet isn't exactly round. And that's way over your head if you haven't ever heard of that comprehension before. But um, life is about to change, but you got to sort of let go of all of these problems and jump into the solution. We need to start having some peace talks. Otherwise, we are going to destroy the whole friggin' planet. We got no chance of hell in saving ourselves if we can't learn how to communicate, if we can't learn how to stop the wars that we're having. And it starts with you and your families, and then within your communities, and with the people that represent you in government. It goes all the way up. But it is systematic. If you change things from the bottom, you change things from the top. We're very busy trying to change the top, thinking it'll affect the bottom. But no, it's the way the bottom is sustaining the top. It's sort of a top-down problem solving doesn't work. Bottom up will always work, because it's what's inside you that's reflected out in the bigness. Change what's inside you, and you change everything else that's out there. Just some food for thought.